I think what surprised me the most is how many angles you can get. I think, like, when you watch a film, you don't really think about, of course you think, like, oh, that's a really good shot, or, like, that's really pretty, but you don't think about how many angles you can get of one scene.
Yeah.
I think that was surprising, and I think also just, like, once you start to get the hang of it, how creative you can be, like, oh, let's try this way, or we can get it from, like, behind, and you start thinking, like, together with the script and, like, your vision, you start thinking about it together. But I think at first it was a little hard to get used to, but with time and, like, since we did it, like, every week, I got used to it, and I was like, okay, let's do this. You get to, like, play. You get to play once you get comfortable.
A lot. Yeah, I think, like, I was just surprised about how much I, like, loved it. I was all like, for me, it came so naturally, and like you said, like, just being able to, like, play around, like, you know, you write it and you have the script and you do it how it's supposed to be, but then when it comes down to, like, directing it, it starts becoming more of a foundation, and then more of, like, what you feel in the moment. Like, once you start seeing it, like, acted out, like, right in front of you, you're all like, and you have, like, the space that you're in and the environment, you see how these characters are finally interacting. Now you're just all like, okay, like, now what else can we do? How can we take it to the next level? Like, oh, like let's add this, or maybe you should do that. So that whole entire process of just directing felt like really just easy, natural, very cool, very fun, very creative, and definitely something I want to continue to do in the future.
Before filming the scene, we would FaceTime and we would talk about what shots do we want, like, what do we absolutely want from the scene, like, what scenery do we want, and then when the actors come, we blocked it out. So we'd be like, you're gonna stand here, you're gonna stand here, and they would, like, rehearse just a little bit, and then we would start filming. And then I think a lot of it was collaboration. So we would collaborate with the actors, be like, is this okay? Like, we're gonna be this close or this far.
Yeah.
And I think that helped a lot. And it even made it more of a comfortable and fun space for everybody, because you could tell everybody was, like, nervous that first time they were shooting.
For sure.
And then the more we got to play and the more we got to talk and block things out, it was like, that's how, and it was, like, really, you know, sometimes things just don't go the way you want to, and then you just have to improvise. And I think that's when, like, the most creative stuff comes out, and, like, the most fun, like, shots that we got.
Oh, definitely. And it's like, you know, breaking it down from, like, line by line, because, like, when you have this, like, image in your head, like I said, once you get into that space, you're just so, like, okay, what angles do I want? So, like, going into it before actually shooting it, like, just rereading the lines and, like, looking at it and be like, okay, when they say this, like, where should the camera be? Should it be, like, right in front of them? Should it be to the side? You know, should the camera be facing the other character? You know, so it's like, we really had to, like, break down that script when it came to, like, directing and actually shooting it to, like, how we wanted it to be visually.
Yeah, especially because this is our first time. It took, you know, we had to prepare.
Yeah.
And, like, even though we weren't supposed to, like, direct it in a way, like, sometimes things happen and we just did it, and I think it was just fun because we got to play and it was a good learning experience.
Yeah. Learning experience for us, but, you know, it went as smoothly as it possibly could, and, you know, we got it done.
Yeah, we got it done. Which is a good part.
At the end of the day, you know, we did it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think a lot of coming of age movies, so, like, Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig is, like, one of my favorite directors. She's so good at, Lady Bird is such a good movie to watch for, like, the teenage girl experience. I think Perks of Being a Wallflower also was very heavily, like, it inspired us a lot, because I think that movie just, like, changed me.
Yeah.
So, like, watching it, it's like, it was so relatable, and I watched it when I was a teenager, and I think, like, I've never seen a film like that captures just a teenager like that, and it really served, like, as inspiration for, like, the sad, more dramatic scenes.
Yeah, anything John Green, you know, like,
yeah,
Paper Towns, you know, The Fault in Our Stars, you know, those very, and then, like, you know, other movies like Love, Simon, for sure, played, like, a huge role into, like, what we wanted to create, because even though we wanted the realism of Gen Z, we still wanted that coming of age feel into it. Like, we didn't want anything that was going to be too, like, rated R and just so outlandish and edgy. You know, we still wanted that feel good moment. And so looking at those things, what's the other movie? Booksmart.
Booksmart,
you know?
yeah, Booksmart was a really big.
it was like that, those like, you know, ones where it's all like, yeah, there's a lot of drama and there's a lot of heartfelt moments and that will tug at your heartstrings, but then, you know, where to equally place that comedy as well, because, you know, or, you know, the movie's not just all drama and stuff like that. Like, there are moments that are just funny and that like make you laugh, and, you know, definitely pulling from like a movie like Booksmart was for sure like where to find that balance, you know, make it as real as possible, because life isn't all drama and it's not all comedy.
I think also another movie, Edge of 17, I think with Haley Steinfeld, that movie was really, it's so real. Like some of them were like, that's happened to me before, and I think the realism of that, we wanted to capture that as well. I think like hints of Euphoria, obviously. We wanted to make it a little aesthetic, a little sprinkle,
aesthetically pleasing.
I think once we were done, I mean, like when we were writing it, we were like, what if we filmed this? You know, there was like always like, if, you know, what if, you know, we don't know if it's gonna happen. But I think once we were done with it, we just kept talking about it. And it was doable. It's not like we had like dragons or like anything like any big CGI moments. And we're like, this is doable to film. So then after that, we're like, okay, let's just film it. And it's like a, you know, not only did we like write, the story is also really compelling, and we think like this would be cool if we had like our friends like do this and then we did this, you know. It was we were just like, let's just do it. It just really came to a moment of, you know, why wait? Like why wait on someone else to like come and like, you know, like it, or like if we submit it and we just keep submitting it, and if people don't like it or they don't want to do it, you know, it's just all like, forget all the waiting and forget all the potential, like, oh, what if, or this could be this or this could be that. I'm just like, let's just do it and, you know, see what happens. And that we learned coming out of this film was just like, you know, if you want to do it, go for it, you know, don't wait around for other people. Just if you have, especially if you have the capability, even if you don't really have the capability, you know, like if you have a dream, if you have a goal, try your hardest to meet it. I think everybody also has to realize, like, everybody started at zero. All of the famous directors and actors, they started at zero. And, like, you know, at times it'd be like, oh, we don't have the right equipment, we don't have this, like, all these habits. Like, of course we don't, because we're not, you know, we're not a big production company. But we, like, makeshifted stuff, and then, like, I think that just shows, like, if you have the passion for it and if you have the effort, and you're like, we both really wanted to do it, so we just did everything. You know, even putting our own money into it. It was just like, this is like, just and reaching out to every connection, that we have. And I think it helps. Also, I talk about this a lot, like creating a team when you both start at zero, and then like you never know if you're gonna get like big, and then you can still have that same team, so you can build that team steadily, and then you can be like, you know, working with your friends and like doing like art, which is really cool.
Most challenging part about bringing the script to life, I think, well, at least for me at first, was just figuring out like shooting it and how to shoot it, and like all these technical things that we just weren't, you know, weren't trained in and weren't used to. Like, never has shot anything before. Like, I've never directed anything. Like, you never really directed anything. And so when it came down to it, you know, we had to do it. We pulled through, but like that was probably the most like big challenge, in my opinion, is because at first we were just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna be like the writers. You know,
we're like, we don't have to. We just tell this person.
And then
what to do.
We'll tell them our vision, and then, you know, then they'll bring that to life. So, but when we really had like full control over the entirety of it, from like writing it to directing it to shooting it ourselves and doing the sound ourselves, you know, that was like, you know, very, you know, it was challenging, but we did it. You know,
I think it was daunting at first, because like, how are we gonna do this? How am I gonna hold this? Where are we gonna go? But I think it's just everybody was in it, and I think if everybody wasn't in it would have been harder. So it was like figuring out everything. It was really hard in such a short time, you know, like production was pushed back a week just because we didn't have a camera, and like we didn't get it till like really late. But like, even though it was a new camera, like we didn't know how to use it, we searched up on YouTube how to use it. The manual. We're like, no, we're gonna do this, and then we did it. There's always a way. Like we use like brooms to help with like stuff, like, you know, it's just like being creative in that way, just like figuring things out. That was really hard. It's also like a bit stressful, But in the end, it's like, looking back, I was like, damn. You know, like, you ever know, like, when you have, like, stressful moments and you're like, I'm gonna look back on this and laugh.
Yeah.
And I think we were just like,
Definitely.
yeah, it was just, like, impressive. I think we were both impressed with ourselves. Also, the cast as well. Like, everybody, like, did a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
But I think us, like, should pat ourselves
on the
in the back. Because it was just the two of us. And, like,
yeah.
some of the cast, sometimes we would have to hold the mic.
Yeah.
You know? It's just like humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings. But it was like, again, like, you know, the fact that we were able to like do it, like we didn't let the fact that we didn't like our, you know, we had people who of course all signed up in the beginning to do it, but you know, due to like scheduling conflict and stuff like that, they, you know, they couldn't. But, you know, at the end of the day, we were just like, okay, you know, even though we didn't have anyone to shoot it anymore, we were just like, okay, we'll shoot it.
Yeah.
And then we shot it.
We shot it. We're like, okay. It's just like figuring things out.
Yeah.
I think we really deep dive into each character and why they're feeling this way. I think not only looking at the Gen Z struggles like depression and body image issues and like fighting with your parents, I think we really explore the why. Why is this happening? Why is this character acting this way? You know, even though we meet them at a certain time, like not having a backstory, we understand like, okay, this is why they do this, and this is like, it's very relatable. It's like something that a lot of people go through, and I think they're gonna be like, parents, when they watch this, you're gonna be like, oh, my daughter, my son has the same thing, like maybe that's why. And you should ask, because a lot, I think with the thing with teenagers and young adults, even me today, like sometimes you just don't want to tell people what you're going through because you're just scared that you're going to get judged. You feel like you're going to be a burden to people. And you feel like you're alone. I think a thing a lot of teenagers do is get isolated. They isolate themselves from like everybody else, and that could be like one of the worst things you can do, because then nobody knows that you're going through this and you can't get help. So I think our story just really dives deep into that, the why, when a lot of, you know, stories don't really do that. And there's like so many characters too, and it's like they're all very fleshed out, and I think, you know, that is something that, you know, other coming of age films kind of really just focus on like one person and like their one issue and what they're going through. This, you get to see like 8 stories and like 8 different perspectives, so it's just like I said, you really get to see all these characters really fleshed out and like what they're going through, and you know how they overcome it, if they overcome it. And I think that's really what sets us apart from the other coming of age films, because we really just showcase, like, we talk about almost everything, almost everything in one movie, and then we use multiple characters to do that. I really like the park scene. I wouldn't say it was like daytime. That's all I'll say.
Oh.
The park scene, it was just, I think it was also because it was fun to shoot, but it was also a really sweet moment in the film, and I think it was just nice overall. And it was just a lot of it was improv, so we could just like talk like regular friends with Ashley, who plays Sabrina. It was really fun.
I would say the Chris and Jerry scene. Just like anytime I saw them on screen, I was just like, you know, not to spoil anything, but like, you know, just great. Like anytime, like it really like pulls you into like coming of age, like sense. You know, since like you get to that part of those part of the movies, and you're just all like, you feel like you're in an entirely different movie. For sure, I learned to, you know, again, like not everything's going to work out perfectly. Like you can have like this vision in your head and hope for the best, but you know, that's not saying that everything's going to happen the way you want it. But that doesn't mean that you give up. You just kind of have to like keep going and work with what you have and do the best that you can. And then, you know, it also taught me like patience, you know, that, you know, just knowing that it will get done, and you know that it will happen, you know, like even if it doesn't happen in the most timely manner that you want it to happen, like you have to like kind of just step back in the moment that you're in and be like, okay, like it's going to get done. The ball is rolling, you know, we're not stopping. We're going to keep going. I think that's like for me too. I think like just doing something, even if you're not prepared, if like nobody's ever going to be prepared to do something. Just do it.
Just do it. Just do it. I think just like taking, like even if you think it's not going to go right, that's okay. That's okay if it's not going to go the way you want, just because like it's about having the experience. I think like having experience and like learning is okay. Like even if you think like, oh, it's too late, this is not good, this is not, like, it's okay if it's not perfect. I think for me, because I'm a perfectionist, it's like it's okay if it's not perfect because we're learning and we're doing the best we can. I think is the best. And then also like kind of relating to patience, just like really letting things sink in. Like what you said, like stepping back and letting things sink in. Like, oh yeah, we're making this right now. Like you
have to look at the bigger picture. Like, you know, we're like we shot this when we were like what, 21, you know, and then we started writing this when we were 20. 19, 20. Oh yeah, we were next because you were about to turn 20.
Yeah. It was like fresh, almost fresh.
It was like freshman, like that.
Fresh out of high school.
So it was all like, you have to think about it when we going through that whole entire process of like, you know, from just writing it to finishing it to casting it, and now you're shooting it, and now that you're shooting it, you can't really let one little thing get in the way of the whole entire bigger picture. You have to look at like I'm 21 and started writing this when I was 19. There's not many people doing that, you know?
I think also just like not being hard on yourself too. Just being like, oh yeah, you're doing this and you're doing the best you can and that's all that matters. I mean, it's like, that's what I've learned. Like looking back on it a year later, we just like talk about like, oh yeah, we did that and like it's gonna come out soon. This is crazy.